Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at some more new rules for Age of Sigmar. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. How battle traits and battle formations shape your army in the new AOS. The way you build your armies has changed in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and these changes can affect everything else in the game, from the priority roll to your command point economy. We've talked about regiments, individual heroes, and their retinues of units, and now it's time to look at the primary rules that govern your army, battle traits and battle formations. Battle traits are a series of widespread abilities that are unique to your army. Some of these will feel similar to existing army rules, but they've all been tightened up and codified to work with the new ability system. For instance, the Stormcast Eternals have 4 different battle trait abilities that apply to the army as a whole. While heroic actions are gone, many of these ideas live on, and their finest hour continues to power up a Stormcast Eternals unit for a turn at a time. So we have once per turn, army, your hero phase, their finest hour. Declare. Pick a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit that has not used this ability this battle to use this ability. Effect. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to the wound rolls for the unit's combat attacks and add 1 to the save rolls for that unit. Okay, so obviously a very strong ability. Interesting to see that this is now a battle trait, but you'll basically be able to finest hour for each unit in your army once per game. Signs of the Storm returns as a way to blast your Gleaming Silver Warriors into the thick of battle on bolts of lightning, and it now applies to all Stormcast Eternal armies. Rather than needing to pick between this ability and the territory holding prowess of the Stormkeepers, as a movement phase ability, it's paired with a deployment ability called the Celestial Realm, allowing you to keep your units in high azure before battle. So we have deployment phase, the Celestial Realm, declare. If there's more friendly Stormcast Eternals units on the battlefield than there are set up in reserve, pick a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit that has not been deployed. Effect. Set up that unit in reserve in the Celestial Realm. It has now been deployed. So I think the idea here is basically that you can put half of your army in reserves, and then your movement phase, Signs of the Storm. Declare. Pick a friendly Stormcast Eternals unit that is in the Celestial Realm. Effect. Set that unit up anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So pretty awesome, and then we know likely there's going to be a lot of units that have abilities that trigger when they're set up from Azure. So interesting changes. It's going to definitely affect how you can play your army, what units are good. Just overall like to see these changes, as this is similar to what they did in Warhammer 40k, and it has worked out really, really well so far. And also we see that the balance in 40k right now is substantially better than it's ever been in the past. Internal balance in the actual armies or factions themselves, and then also external balance in the game, and that's without all the codexes even being out. So definitely a good sign. Some battle trait abilities may be commands with an associated cost, such as Heaven Sent. This powerful once per battle ability can return a destroyed unit to the battlefield at half strength, ready to smash aside the enemies in the Sigmar once again. So once per battle, your movement phase, 1 command point, Heaven Sent. Declare. Pick a friendly non-unique Stormcast Eternals infantry or cavalry unit that has started the battle with 2 or more models and that has been destroyed to be the target. Effect. Set up a replacement unit with half the number of models from the target unit, rounding up more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So again, very powerful ability right here. Normally you're playing 2,000 point games, so being able to return half of a unit to the battlefield, basically going to be boosting your army size by a few hundred points. Depending what unit it is. Obviously you have to pick a unit with more than 1 model because you only get half. So if you got 2 in the unit normally, you bring back 1. If you had 20, you bring back 10. So very, very cool. Alright, and then next we have the battle formations. You will also pick a battle formation when constructing your army. These work like sub-factions of old and exemplify the way a specific force might do battle to represent the specific tactics it employs. But they're no longer tied to a particular color scheme or location in the world, encouraging players to express their creativity and craft their own creations. So this is one of my favorite parts about it. Again, this is very similar to what we've recently seen in Warhammer 40k. Taking away the paint scheme that is tied to specific rules lets people do what they want to do and then play how they want to play, which is absolutely awesome. Each faction pack, the decks of cards released alongside the new edition, contains 4 battle formations, so you can lean into particular strategies and experiment with new army options from the start. Take the Thunderhead Host, which prioritizes mixing and matching units from the various chambers with this Synchronized Strikes passive ability, empowering warrior chamber units in combat while they are within 12 inches of a unit from a member of a different chapter. So Thunderhead Host, passive, Synchronized Strikes. Effect. Add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly warrior chamber units while they are wholly within 12 of a friendly non-hero Stormcast Eternals unit that do not have the warrior chamber keyword. Stormdrake Guard, Dracothian Guard, and other warriors and heroes of the Extremist chapter often battle with a lightning echelon. Their Oncoming Storm ability conferring 1 unit per turn that strikes first effect in combat roll on a 3+. This kind of flexibility extends across the factions, and we'll be seeing more of what they can do when we come to the faction focus next month. So Lightning Echelon, once per turn, army, any combat phase, oncoming storm. Declare, pick a friendly extremist chamber unit that charges this turn. Effect, roll a dice on a 3-up, that unit has a strike first effect for the rest of the turn. So again, very cool. Having these abilities like not tied to specific paint jobs also means that you can shift between them as you want for like various games. You can build a single army with a single paint job that's cohesive and then play it in different ways, not only in like the army building phase, but by using these various choices as well. So very, very cool. Definitely a massive fan of this. And again, it has worked extremely well in 40K and just overall made the game substantially better. So I suspect it'll do the same thing in Age of Sigmar as well. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products, including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. Next week, we'll be digging into the guts of the combat phase and brushing up on the pious and the profane as we examine the spellcasting and prayers in the new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So I know I personally am very excited to see exactly how like spells and prayers are going to be working. Obviously, spells and prayers have been like a key element in Age of Sigmar. It is like very high, like magic type game. And we recently saw in 40K 10th edition that they sort of like changed the way that spellcasting worked in a substantial way to where most of the spells became like either shooting attacks or passive abilities. And that essentially, instead of like having the ability to like fail a test, they basically just changed it to where you would roll a d6 after you use that spell. And on a 1, you would take some damage. Or even in some cases, on a 1, the ability might fail. On a 2 through 5, it has 1 effect. And on a 6, it has like an extremely powerful effect. But they got rid of the whole like magic psychic phase, which to a lot of people felt like a feel bad moment. But in all actuality, hasn't really been a nerf, as we've seen Thousand Suns armies and Eldari armies and other psychic focused armies still performing extremely well. So while it definitely feels like a big change, the way they changed psychic in 40K, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing, and it has sped up the game substantially. By eliminating an entire phase from the game and simplifying a lot of those abilities, they're able to still achieve the same effects, have there be like pluses and minuses or drawbacks and bonuses, but without having to have like a whole dedicated phase that some entire armies don't get to take part in. Now, so far in Age of Sigmar, we've seen that they still have like chant rolls, and they're still going to have magic tests or like spellcasting, but I'm interested to see how they change that exactly and how they essentially achieve like the same goals, but without removing the spellcasting abilities. As we've already seen like the battle scroll cards for things like Nagash, and we definitely still see that you're going to be rolling still to cast your spells. You're going to be rolling still to attempt your prayers. And obviously spellcasting in like the fantasy realms or Sigmar is an integral part of the game. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to be like hashed out in the new edition. So far, everything we've seen looks awesome to me. I really like the changes that they're making. We saw a ton of the best changes that were implemented in Warhammer 40K 10th edition came from Age of Sigmar. And now I think likely we're going to see a lot of those same changes or like similar changes coming back from Age of Sigmar to 40K back to Sigmar to make the game better than it's ever been. And with the complete rework of the game from the ground up for the first time since its inception, I really do think Age of Sigmar 4.0 is going to be the best the game has ever been. So let me know what you're most excited about. Are you picking the Stormcast Eternals, the Skaven? Are you picking one of the other many factions? I personally am curious how like the Sons of Bahamut are going to be like in this new edition, as obviously they're one of like the biggest outliers in like how factions function. They have limited model count, but like lots of really big and powerful monsters. They don't have all of the spellcasting that the other factions have. So seeing how like certain armies like that flush out and how they balance those, how all the enhancements and detachment rules and stuff like that affect them is going to be super exciting. And I'm really looking forward to where they go with it. So let me know what you're most excited about, which factions you're going to be playing. If there's any you're not going to be playing anymore or you're looking forward to start off with. I know I'm super excited to dive in on the Skaven, as I've been putting it off for years, knowing that eventually they were going to get a range refresh. So I think this is going to be the perfect time to be delving in with them. And I've mentioned it a couple of times before, but we're getting ready to actually like start up an escalation league, probably with 10th edition, and I think I'm going to go with Skaven for those particular reasons. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I am getting more and more excited, and I'm out of here.